Have you ever noticed how victimhood has become the ultimate power play in today's world? Sympathy, attention, and even moral superiority. It's all up for grabs if you can position yourself as the one who's been wronged. Victimhood isn't just about suffering anymore. It's about control. But is this control truly empowering, or is it a trap? Victimhood starts with being wronged. That's natural. But when it stops being a reaction to hardship and turns into an identity, it becomes toxic. Instead of overcoming challenges, it's about using them as leverage and turning pain into a permanent label. And let's not pretend it's rare. Victimhood is everywhere. Social media thrives on it. Scroll through your feed and you'll find endless posts about struggles, racking up likes, shares, and comments like, "You're so brave." People have realized that being wronged gets applause. But it's not just online. Politics has turned grievances into power. Whole movements revolve around amplifying victim stories to gain influence. In workplaces, people use accusations of toxicity to avoid accountability. And in schools, safe spaces and trigger warnings now shield students from discomfort instead of helping them build resilience. Who gets caught up in this? Activists, influencers, students, even the privileged. Yes, even those in power play the victim card when it suits them. Why not? Society rewards it. Sympathy pours in, criticism gets shut down, victimhood becomes untouchable. Why does society cater to this? Because victimhood sells. Social media platforms and news outlets know stories of suffering attract attention, and nobody wants to be seen as the bad guy for questioning a victim. So why is victimhood so appealing? Quite simply because it works. Sympathy feels good. It validates your struggles and makes you feel important. And let's be honest, blaming others is easier than taking responsibility. Why look in the mirror when you can point the finger at someone else? Victimhood gives you the moral high ground. It makes you untouchable. If you criticize someone who's been wronged, you're instantly labeled the villain. On top of that, victimhood can create a sense of belonging. Groups of victims band together, forming a collective identity built on shared struggles. But here's the thing, it doesn't last. Victimhood is like a sugar rush. It feels good for a moment, but leaves you empty. And over time, sympathy isn't enough. You need more and more validation to feel the same. Victimhood isn't just emotional, it's strategic. It's a tool for gaining influence and control. In today's culture, victimhood is like money. Sympathy brings attention, and attention brings power. Take the fat acceptance movement, for example. While it started as a way to fight discrimination, some parts now reject any discussions about health. Criticism is reframed as fat phobia, and sympathy becomes the only acceptable response. The Suffering Olympics refers to the competition where people try to prove they've had it worse than others. It's all about gaining sympathy and moral high ground by showcasing your hardships. This competition turns struggles into currency, where the more you've suffered, the more power you have. But it also shifts focus from solutions to grievances. You see this in modern feminism. Every failing women face is blamed on the patriarchy or men holding them back, turning every setback into oppression instead of personal responsibility. It makes it easy to avoid accountability and keeps women stuck in the victim role instead of taking charge of their own lives. Sympathy is powerful, but it can also be weaponized to avoid accountability. Take the state of Israel, for example. It often invokes its history of immense suffering, particularly the Holocaust, to justify controversial policies like the occupation of Palestinian territories. This history deserves recognition, but critics argue that it's frequently weaponized to silence opposition. For instance, when people question Israel's actions, such as the treatment of Palestinians or the expansion of settlements, they're often labeled as anti-Semitic. This shuts down meaningful conversations before they even start. It creates a barrier where discussing humanitarian issues becomes nearly impossible because any criticism is framed as an attack on Israel's identity or survival. This tactic uses genuine sympathy for Jewish suffering as a shield to block criticism. The power of victimhood is fragile. It depends entirely on sympathy from others. When people stop caring or start asking questions, that power disappears, leaving you exposed. Victimhood might seem powerful, but it has a cost. It keeps you stuck. Blaming others doesn't fix anything. It just leaves you going in circles, stuck in self-pity. When your mindset is poor me, change becomes impossible. Self-pity locks you in a cycle of inaction, where you indulge in your own pain instead of looking for solutions. It also isolates you. Always playing the victim pushes people away. Relationships break down because no one wants to be around someone who refuses to take responsibility. Worst of all, it takes away your power. If your worth depends on sympathy, you're at the mercy of others. What happens when people stop listening? You're left with nothing. And it's not just personal. When society glorifies victimhood, it undermines resilience. Instead of rewarding effort and growth, we celebrate entitlement and grievance. People compete over suffering instead of striving for solutions. So how do you break free? Firstly, take accountability. Own your choices, your mistakes, and your future. Taking responsibility isn't about blame, it's about power. The power to change your circumstances. Next, build resilience. Strength isn't built by avoiding hardship, it's built by facing it. Life doesn't get easier, but you get stronger. Resilience turns challenges into stepping stones instead of roadblocks. Finally, find validation from within. Stop chasing likes, sympathy, or approval. True power comes from knowing your worth without needing anyone else to confirm it. That kind of confidence is unshakable. As Steve Maraboli says, the victim mindset dilutes the human potential. By not accepting personal responsibility for our circumstances, we greatly reduce our power to change them. This sums up what it means to break free from victimhood and reclaim your power. Look at the stories of those who overcame hardship without staying stuck in victimhood. They took ownership, worked through their pain, and came out stronger. That's real power, the kind that no one can take away from you. If you found this video insightful, you might like another one on a similar topic. Click on the thumbnail to watch or keep exploring. Also, please comment, like, and subscribe to the channel.